In this video, we will be ranking every wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. Now, if it isn't obvious, this does not include Wave 6, because, you know, Wave 6 does not exist yet, so let's get into it. Now, I feel like this is an obvious choice for the weakest wave, and quite frankly, it is. It's Wave 1. Yeah, I'm just like everyone else. I'm not a big fan of Wave 1. Also, I just realized I still have my mods on. Oops. Anyways, ignoring that, this is Wave 1, and okay, I have some issues with it. It's not as bad as I think people make it out to be, but I still have quite a few issues with this specific wave of DLC. Now, let's face it, the big one is definitely the graphics, and it's not really like anything I can blame people on, or because like it's definitely a new team making the DLC, but honestly, the graphics really did hold back the Wave 1 DLC. And of course, you can probably say the same thing about Wave 2. We'll get to that. Okay, like Wave 1 is just not great in like really any area. If I had to say anything about Wave 1's graphics being decent, I would say the best graphics in Wave 1, I would go ahead and say probably Shroom Ridge or Choco Mountain. But of course, graphics are not everything, and the gameplay is, well, it's average. I mean, obviously, it's an introductory wave, so it's not going to be the most in-depth tracks to ever exist in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so it kind of makes sense. I wish it had like that one bazang of a track, and I guess we have Coconut Mall and Ninja Hideaway. Those would probably be the highlights of the wave, but if I had to say the weaklings of the wave as well, because you know, every wave has its weakness, I would say this is definitely the weakest track, and probably Tokyo Blur. I'm not a big fan of Tokyo Blur. Is that just me? I don't know if that's just me. Alright, the next weakest wave of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC is, Wave 2, actually. We're going in order for now, gamers. This won't be the case, so at the end. So yeah, this wave, I mean, it's definitely 100% a step up from, well, Wave 1. However, I do still have issues with it. And obviously the graphics, I feel like they improved pretty significantly, and I can't really blame them for that. So the graphics are, from here on out, graphics aren't really a non-issue. Or yeah, really a non-issue. But like Wave 2's problem is the track selection, I feel, for okay, when I say the track selection, I mean the overall quality of the tracks. So yeah, the overall quality of the tracks is definitely kind of what brings Wave 2 down for me, because it had some great highlights. Like Mushroom Gorge is probably one of my favorite tracks in the game now, but also, I mean, come on, Mario Circuit 3, that alone, just thinking about that, isn't a great selection. But then you get like Sky High Sundae, which was, I don't know if that's just a me opinion, but it's a very underwhelming selection for the DLC, and I wish they chose something else instead of Sky High Sundae, like, or did something more Sky High Sundae, maybe like the theming is great. So obviously it has to be in this game because it's Mario Kart Tour. I'm not feeling it, I guess. Like, I'm not feeling the sky, like the layout. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. The layout is just not the greatest thing out there. I wish it had just more pizzazz to it. I wish it was just overall more like just overall had more interesting layout features, and the anti-gravity is also a big thing. But you know, those are the two weaklings. If I had to put some great highlights, though, there are some good highlights in Wave 2. This track, Sydney Springs, and Mushroom Gorge are just to name a few. Alrighty, the next wave on the list is Wave 5, the most recent wave as of now. Now, what makes this wave weaker than Wave 3 and Wave 4? I don't know how people think about Wave 5 or how people feel, but I mean, it's a great wave. I just think, you know, it's very close. This is the weakest of the next three waves. Next three waves are all very close, so I will admit. And I think this wave has some of the best graphics, but obviously there has to be something holding back this wave. And there indeed is, in fact, a very big one, and something that it's like, okay, I can live with it. A lot of people know that Sunset Wilds is not the greatest track out there. It's especially the Mario Kart Tour version, but in Mario Kart Tour, it had a very specific feature that they left out in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and that, my fellas, is the sunset. Yes, it may have not been possible to, quite frankly, edit the lighting of it specifically. However, they probably could have made it look somewhat natural. Anything they could have just done a day to like sunset transition, I would have been okay with that. And I would say the other weak point for me is probably Los Angeles laps. It's not terribly weak. I don't know, I'm kind of underwhelmed by the fact that, yeah, in the original it was a really unique skybox that I really liked. But then in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's just daytime. Like, I get it. I do understand, but I kind of wish we got that day kind of sunsetty / daytimey skybox, if that makes sense. But to point out the highlights of the wave, definitely gotta say squeaky clean sprint. This track and overall just the rest of the tracks are really solid in my opinion. I mean, Moonview Highway, while it's a surprise, it's really good. The other city tracks are pretty damn good for city tracks, like Vancouver Velocity, top tier city track right there. I don't know what the general consensus on this is, but my second favorite wave of the DLC is Wave 3. Yeah, there is one or two things that really don't really bother me about Wave 3, but they have kind of put the wave a little back compared to the next wave, which obviously is Wave 4 is number 1. But what makes Wave 3 good first? Because, you know, if it's this high, it has to have something good. And it does. This is really where the graphics obviously start to get really good. Obviously, Wave 2, I said that the graphics would definitely improve. But this is where it started getting really good and really in a style that I appreciate. Except Rock Mountain, but that's one of the negatives. And I gotta say, overall, the tracks play really good. I really like Wave 3's gameplay. And obviously, like, I don't think it has the greatest city tracks of any of the waves. But, by the way, if you want me to rank the city tracks, comment down below. That overall, it's a great wave, but the gameplay is fun. Highlights are definitely... I actually really like this track. I don't know if that's just me. Peach Gardens, I'm also a big fan of. What else is in Wave 3? I'd say those two, actually. Peach Gardens, this track. I don't know why, I'm a really big fan of this track. And you may have noticed I didn't say 3DS Rainbow Road. And yeah, that's a controversial opinion. I don't hate it. I actually think it's pretty decent. And that brings us to Wave 4, my favorite wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and DLC. What makes Wave 4 my favorite? Well, I think the track's quality is consistently good. And I don't think it has the highest of highs except this track. However, what puts this wave above the others for me is that there are really no lows for me. Like, I guess if I had to say anything, I'm not the hugest fan of Amsterdam Drift, if I guess. But like, yeah, the city tracks aren't as quality, like, high as like Vancouver Velocity, but like, there's no lows either. And even the original track that we're playing right now, Yoshi's Island, one of the best tracks, I think, in Mario Kart history. Obviously, it's a great theme track, and I'm not gonna say it's like great compared to the base game, but like for what it's trying to do, like the aesthetically, best track in the game. And I think this wave has the best visuals. I mean, look at Riverside, a great GBA track, and even Waluigi Stadium, while it's not quite up to base game quality, it's getting really damn up there with the like quality of the tracks, you know, like it makes sense. The tracks again, this is the point where the tracks got really good, and I am really happy to say that this Wave 4 is my favorite wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and DLC.